Before I begin today's lecture, I'd like to remind you all of how important it is to exercise good safety practices whenever we're working, especially when we're working alone. These are times that we don't want to have to make a trip to the emergency room or to a hospital to seek medical attention for even minor issues or concerns given the current health crisis. So let's just do a quick review of the fundamentals. It's absolutely imperative that whenever we're working with tools and with the kind of materials that we're going to be working with here during our lecture series, that we're exercising proper eye protection. Not all eye protection is created equal, and we need to scale that eye protection for whatever the particular project is that we're doing. So, say for example, some light hammering work may only require safety glasses, but if I'm grinding metal and generating hot sparks, I'm going to want to wear goggles or a higher level of protection. And under some circumstances, I'll wear a face shield in addition to that eye protection. Because face shields are not eye protection, they're a second line of defense that we wear against the potential risk associated with debris that could be coming off of our tooling at high speeds, compromising our safety. It's no less important that we wear proper hearing protection as well when we're working around tools that generate noises that could be damaging to our hearing and will increase stress levels in our body, which in effect depletes our immune system. And these are days when we need our immune system to be at its best. So we always want to exercise proper hearing protection. My preference is for sound dampening headphones. Foam earplugs would be a good alternative to that. And again, remember, not all hearing protection is rated equal. Every pair of hearing protection will have an ANSI designation or an OSHA designation that defines the decibel rating that those particular devices are rated to protect you against. We also have concerns about protecting our airways. So we're going to typically wear a particle mask when we're dealing with small particulate matter. N95 is what we typically recommend. There may be some processes you're doing working with things like organic vapors that will require you to wear a respirator. So be aware of the respiratory risks associated with the process that you're using and make sure that you're employing the correct type of respiratory protection. Anyone that's predisposed to respiratory problems, that would include things like bronchitis, rhinitis, sinusitis, asthma. It's extra important that you exercise the highest levels of protection when it comes to respiratory protection. Last but not least, protecting our hands against the potential of cuts or bruises or things like blood blisters. I highly recommend that you invest in a pair of material handling gloves that has some capacity for absorbing shock or impact, and that these should fit very snugly and be form-fitting, because loose-fitting gloves can often cause more risk than offer advantages for protecting your hands. And again, remember, although we'll use these material handling gloves and vibration dampening gloves frequently in our practice, we will never ever wear gloves of any kind when we're using motor-driven equipment like bandsaws and drill presses and belt grinders, because if a gloved hand got caught in moving parts of that equipment, it would drag your hand in and make it really hard for you to get back out again. Again, causing an exponentially greater potential injury than would be should you not have had gloves on. So, that being said, let's move forward with our lecture. Welcome back. Our topic for today is going to be light gauge sheet metal forming using readily available hand tools. So some of the things that we're going to go over are tools and tips for measuring and marking, We're also going to look at a whole range of different systems that can be used for cutting thin gauge sheet metal. We're going to look at surface treatments and how we're able to create texture or pattern on the surface of our sheets. And we're going to go into some details about some of the most common processes used for deforming sheet metal for a range of different applications. So some of the examples that we have on this table of practical applications of sheet metal work include things like this gorgeous little tin box with repose of some palm trees on the surface, and some cute little details where that material has been punched or pushed forward from the inside of that sheet. The safety glass case, which is a stamped metal box. A throat lozenge case that has a hinge engineered into the folding of the material and slitting of it. A gorgeous little needle case. A formed copper airplane. A repurposed tin can. And ductwork, like this elbow for a 4-inch line. Among the tool resources that we're going to look at in particular are gauge wheels, and how we can measure the thickness of the cross-section of a material and understand how that translates into a language we might be more familiar with, like fractions or decimals. A range of different types of forming hammers that we have laid out here. Benchtop anvils. Combination benchtop anvil and vise, like this guy here, and like this handsome little devil that we have right here. We're going to look at shears, which include aviation snips. We're going to look at seaming pliers or folding pliers, locking pliers, and a whole range of different types of forming pliers that include needle nose and flat nose pliers, some of which also incorporate things like rod cutters in them. We're going to look at how we can use metal scribes and marking gauges, and we'll also break out our combination square for doing our layout onto our sheets. We're going to talk a bit about safety, because personal injury protection is an important issue, especially these days when we really don't want to make an unnecessary trip to the emergency room to get a wound mended. We're going to look at different types of wooden forms that we can use as anvils or work surfaces for repose. Wooden bucks that we can push material down into for forming, and mating parts and pieces like these two wood components that we can raise and planish forms with. So that being said, I look forward to having the opportunity to move into another topic and share a little bit about what I've learned about the usefulness of these tools and resources.